I've struggled with the idea of competition as a business person, as a woman that didn't grow up, beating the opposite team on soccer. They didn't know it was before those days. But I've struggled with how competition can be ugly and horrible, but also recognize that competition breeds innovation.
Yes.
When I see you taking away my customer, I have to look at what I'm not delivering that makes me get my operation running better. And so I throw it on the table just as with trepidation, because it's burned as well as it's been a wonderful incentive to innovate more thoroughly.
Yeah, I think that if you see the opposite of competition as cooperation, then it creates a greater dilemma. But I see the opposite of competition as suppression.
That's right. It's aggression.
Yeah, it's a different type of aggression in that you're, what Alexis de Tocqueville would call this soft tyranny, right? Where you are either forced or encouraged to not be innovative, that you don't have a voice in saying this can be done better, and so I think there's a lot of examples where if it were not for competition, we would be sitting in a much less joyful, pleasant, thrilling world than what we're living in right now. Now, the fall is noetic, right? So it touches everything, no way around that. So we have to redeem these concepts of competition. But this is the rub for the church. I will say, as a pastor, these types of terms and concepts are very difficult. I mean, even using terminology like success and profit. I mean, when was the last time you heard a sermon series on competition for the good? So we need to somehow redeem these concepts or they will be detrimental and destructive. But I do see the opposite of competition as being suppression and aggression in a negative way.
Peter Kraft at Boston College, he says that competition in its worst form is actually a version of envy. And envy says we want the others to lose while we win, instead of good competition saying we want to challenge each other.
Yes.
I think that's exactly what you're getting at.
Yes.
Well, and that is the fundamental difference, right, between whether or not you view an economy as a fixed pie or as what the Bible actually describes it to be, which is a created order that is filled with infinite potential.
I was reading recently Paul Graham, who's the founder of Y Combinator, arguably the most successful accelerator in the world in Silicon Valley, was saying that he thinks one of the number one determinants of whether a startup will fail is how much they're focused on the competition. Says that actually that's totally the wrong thing to focus on, because you're constantly worried, what are they going to do and how will we respond to it? And will they take the people that we have? Instead of saying, I'm going to innovate with what's in front of me, and seeing that as really this abundance, having this abundance mentality, right? That there's so much of the world that has gone untouched. I think as believers, even more so when we're going out to renew the culture, the challenges are not those who are also trying to renew. The challenges are with these larger spiritual forces that we're facing, I think.
Yeah, but I think that Christian business, what makes Christian business unique is it's done to the glory of God, meaning that we are serving as unto the Lord, but we have a different ethical framework. And I think this is what changes competition from being for the bad to the good, because if we are going into the competition, into competitive situations with no sense of an ethical framework, right? Like anything goes, then we will begin to use slander and harm and malicious activity to be able to win.
Or like Martin Shkreli, who takes a life-saving drug, buys the company, and then jacks up the price 1,000%.
Yes, yeah. But as a Christian, we're thinking about providing alternatives that are better than what the marketplace currently can provide, so that the person can experience, again, more of the good life in their everyday existence.
I think just to riff on that a little bit, one of the most interesting decisions to me in the history of transportation is Volvo's decision to open source the seatbelt. They invented it and they could have held on to it. But they said, you know what, this is too good for the world for it to be our product. And on the back of that, they built an incredibly important and successful car company. But they didn't say we have to capture all the value. It's all ours. They said this is something for the common good. And I think that's a posture hopefully we can have as Christians.
Yeah.